Welcome to Late to the Know-How. I'm Simon and this is session 8. Now last time stuff happened, and I know stuff happened because I wrote stuff down, but it's been such a long time, we're kind of just going to go for it. The party fought a black dragon wormling and it escaped before being killed. They then found some tracks heading south through the boglands, through areas that Ulvana was like, no one usually goes this way, and so they decided that they'd follow the tracks. Now, for the evening part of day 4, I basically have just journaled that they used the rest of the day to start following the tracks, and it kind of backtracks. Let's just bring up the arena here. So it kind of backtracks a little bit, and then they spend an overnight rest, just regaining all the hit points and stuff, but it's pretty uncomfortable. It's bog, marshlands, there's mozzies, there's bugs, spiders crawling all over them. Not really very comfortable. But then the next day, they're going to start on the journey of following the trail. Now, what I did was I printed this another bog marsh tile, and the little yellow dots are the trail that they're going to follow. And what I've decided to do was, because it's boggy and marshy, it's going to be a 1 day to travel this one terrain tile. So that's basically south. So they've kind of reversed down a little bit, followed a trail down here. And then for the first part of the day, they'll follow the trail. Middle of the day, the trail kind of will split and they'll decide which way they want to go. And then at the end of the day, whichever way they go, we'll see what happens. I think that's probably the easiest way to start again. Totally forgot what was going on. Alrighty, so before we continue, I thought I'd just do a bit of a recap about what we've got, what things we're up to. So we've got, in terms of our quests, we've got our main quest where we're just trying to work out what these weird storms are that's coming through the forest, and then some side quests that we've got, which are kind of all connected or maybe all connected. We need to find out why the awakened trees have gone a bit crazy. So, like, the main party got attacked by a awakened tree, and Ulvana herself had issues with some awakened trees. They've seen and been told about this strange group of magic users, weird kind of people, cultish kind of people. So that's on their list of things to find out. And they've got, what are all these ethereal items about that they've found on the awakened tree? And then Ulvana herself has this curse and this coin. They want to sort of see if they can work out how to get rid of the curse off her as well. And then the last thing is to follow these tracks south. And for the actual items, so they've got the abacus, with all the beads on it, that sort of chimes when it's moved to one side. And Ulvana has found a jeweler's hammer with that same ethereal glow, and there was that mace that has the handle with some ethereal runes on the side, also found in one of the awakened trees. So that's basically where we're up to. That's just a bit of a recap for us, just so that we can try and remember what we're trying to do. So at this point, the characters are starting a brand new day. They're starting there we go. They're starting at this point just here. Brand new day. The weather is normal, but it's pretty uncomfortable. It's a boglands marsh. There's insects biting bugs and things like that. And this is going to be a difficult terrain tile. So this 12-mile tile will essentially be one whole day's worth of travel. So let's go from there. So the first thing we'll do is we'll see what the the morning brings from the morning to this split in the trail, and we'll just use our oracle for that. I have been thinking that the hex crawl part of oracle is adding an extra layer of complication that perhaps I don't really need to go through. I mean, it's cool because it's got some, it's got the features. It's got a bunch of these features and events that can occur and things like that. But I'm also wondering if maybe I should just go back to just using the basic oracle that we've got, even though it's more of a yes and no kind of oracle, but maybe asking it questions and being a little bit less specific. But then again, I think that the good thing about the hex crawl one is it is actually quite specific to the to moving through the hex, and so I think we'll stick with the hex crawl. But like I said, maybe later on I might go, oh, it's not really doing what I really want, or it's, I don't know, it's getting a bit too complicated and I want to just make it a bit simple. But yeah, I think for now we'll just stick with the hex crawl. So the first part of the day is our we'll just do a features and events. If you remember, we've got a features, let me just move it down here so we can see. We've got a features and events table, and we've also got a, we've got an events table, which is just basically an events, but it does actually reference the features table, and the other one is just a basic straightforward features table, and that's things like ruins and things like that. Now I think I prefer to just roll on the events table, because the features is kind of, we've already defined the features just by the fact that it's marsh and boglands, and if we do end up rolling a feature on here, we can then go back. So let's just move this out of the way to over here. Put it over here. So remember, the party is now traveling southwards, and we'll just roll our D10, and we'll see if we get an event for that first part of the day. And that's a 5, and the 5 says a sign. So, and the sign includes tracks or an omen. So they found that the night before, or the day before, they found the track heading south, and Ilvana was like, these are the same tracks of what the cultists or magic users were leaving. So the fact that it's the same thing says to me, yeah, she's definitely sure these are the guys and they're on the right track. They're not going to have to, go, oh, these tracks have changed or the tracks have disappeared. She's able to track them really well. So for the first part of the day, they've successfully followed the tracks. So the middle of the day, they get to this place where the tracks split. Now we can do a resting phase here, like for a lunch, sort of the midday event. So we'll do that. Let's check for a midday event and see what happens. And that's an 8. That's uneventful. So there's nothing happens during the sort of the midday part of the midday part of the day. Nothing happens in the midday. And now at this point, the junction is splitting. So we've got like a south heading junction, and then we've got one that's heading off to the west here. West, east, south, east. That's upside down. Give me a break. Right, so we're going to go, we'll decide which way they're going to go. So I guess the easiest way is just to roll, we'll just roll a D10, and if it's 1 to 5, they're going south, and if it's 6 to 10, they're going to go to the southeast. So they're going to go down. They're going to go down this way. All right, easy peasy. So now for the second part of the day, let's just see if there's any event at this point now. Now, the thing here to note is that they're actually heading back towards where the river goes. So they may end up back near the river, because it's obviously going to enter this tile at some point, but it might curve down. So we'll just see if they do go through here, or when they do go through here, what the river is also going to do. So anyway, this second part of the day, does anything happen? And it's a 7. It's uneventful, but they're following the tracks. So basically, they're just making their way through through this tile. All right, so now it's night time. So it's not been a very exciting day, really. It's just a bit of sloggy travel. But this is what happens when you have hex crawling. You can have days where it sort of feels uneventful. And I guess if you're running this for a party, like you're not solo role playing, you can always just maybe do a bit of a pre-roll for each hex and just go, well, they're not doing anything during the day, so I'm going to hand wave that particular tile, and we'll just say you spend the whole day crawling through the bog, slogging your way, and then you get to the end of night time and you just kind of collapse, and there's been no encounter. But for us, because it's just me and we're just running it on the fly, we're just going to do it this way. All right, so end of the day, we're going to do a resting phase, and we'll just see if anything comes up. But before we do that, what I might do is, I'm kind of still debating whether it might be just simpler just to do events and not be too concerned about the rest, and to let the event take over what the resting does. Just because it's an extra thing that I'm kind of losing track a little bit of what I need to do. I'm trying to keep it simple, so we might just maybe not do the resting phase as its own role. We might just do it as an event and keep it at that. So let's just do an event for the evening and see what happens. And that's a 10. And a 10 means that we roll on the minor complication dice. So our minor complication dice is the D4. So if we roll a 1 on this minor complication dice, that means that a minor complication kicks in. So let's see what happens. And this is the evening here. So this could be potentially an interesting end of the track for this part of the day. And it's a 3. So no, nothing happens. It doesn't move or anything like that. There's no complication or anything like that. So they just rest, and then they can start the next day. So what we'll do is, for this tile location here, we'll roll to see what the river is going to do. So we've got two options. Well, we've got, if we have a look roughly of how a hex kind of looks, just here, you can see that the river can either go here, here, or here. So we've got three places that the river can sort of head to, or be diverted to, or, well, it wouldn't just stop at a lake, would it? I mean, it's a river. It would keep going. I don't think there's a lake or anything like that there. So what we'll do is we'll just go, say, on a 6-sided dice, 1 to 2, 3 to 4, 5 to 6. So 1 to 2 is here, so that's a 1. And so that means the river goes basically straight across here. So they've come to this point here, and they're going to hit the river straight away. So this is potentially still all boggy marshland, but there is the river running through it. So let's just I'll grab a tile, I'll print a tile up, and I'll put it in there, and then we'll continue. Alrighty, so I've printed up a tile and it just looks like that there. So the river just runs straight through and the party is sort of heading down the trail here. Now, instead of us mucking around, and because it's getting a bit close back to the village and stuff here, we actually will have the trail. What I've decided to do is we'll have the trail just get to the river and then head down the river, and then there'll be another tile here, which is another river. And that way we're kind of following the river down and away from our village up here, and that gets us into more of this area where it's a little bit, well, like Ulvana was saying, it's not a place where people would go. So let's just let's put in our trail. So trail comes down like this, and then this trail maybe comes down like this, and this trail meets up here and sort of goes to there, I think. So they've kind of done a bit of a loop around. I probably should have got them to do a skill check of some sort there. Maybe Ulvana should have done a bit of a check and she could have gone down this way instead. But I think instead of having them wander around aimlessly for ages and get tiles and tiles and tiles, I think maybe at this point we might actually make an event happen for them, just so that we can, do something exciting instead of just, hex crawling forever and ever and ever, depending on the dice rolls. So here we will make an event happen and we'll get them to get to this event on midday on day 6. I think what we'll do is, because they can sort of fast track along the water's edge, and then on day 6 they get to this point here, and this is where our event is going to be for our maybe meeting up with these. Well, let's just say they meet up with a group of individuals at this point. Yeah. And that way we can actually have something exciting happen instead of you watching me just roll randomly and print tiles for the next, who knows, sessions. Yeah, so let's do that. Okay, so we'll call it here, I think, for today. And then we'll be back the next session and we'll roll an event, and hopefully that'll be really good. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you later.